Okay. Oh, hi. Somebody just joined me.
Hey,
Hi, Eric.
how's it going?
Oh, pretty good. Let's see. Which class are you in?
AOC2.
All right. So, had a little trouble this week, I understand. Um,
Yes. Um,
you
so,
pointed out to me that the video on factories was not actually available. So,
yeah, I had everything going like just fine, and then I got to the requirement of it be coming from a factory, and I was like, wait a minute, I have no idea what that is.
well, I added that after you pointed that out. Did you find?
Yeah, I saw it and I watched it. I mean, I have it pretty much done. I finished it that morning. But after watching the factory video, I found a way to kind of refactor it, make it a little bit better. So I've just been kind of making it better, and then I'm gonna submit it a little bit later tonight.
Okay, sounds good. So that made sense once you saw the video?
Yeah, absolutely. Made a ton of sense. And then, like I said, there was a few things that I could have done to make it a little bit more efficient and a lot less code. So I was refactoring and making it run smoother and better.
Okay, that's good. Uh, any other questions or comments about last week?
As far as last week's, not really. I think it was pretty straightforward. Like I said, other than that factory that I didn't I didn't understand.
Well,
Um,
no, no wonder if it hadn't been taught.
yeah.
That was in there in previous runs of the class, and I'm not sure how it managed to get. Probably when we switched over to FSO3, maybe it got dropped out.
Yeah, I know a lot of stuff. Even with the past classes, I've had a lot of issues like that where there's things missing that I had to get reinstated, I guess, with the new system.
Okay, well, this week you're going to be building on that assignment that you did last week, basically
Okay.
turning it into a little application that actually, um, you choose buttons and choose calculate, have a calculate button, and you have a button for each of your classes that you created. You can start over again if you want to, or you can just start from where you left off with your last week's assignment.
Okay.
And and when you click on one of the buttons, it should show the class that you chose, the subclass that you chose, and then when you click on the calculate button, um, it should do a calculation. It also, let's see, there's a stepper button, I believe, in there, and you want to take whatever each subclass produced and multiply it by whatever quantities in the stepper to get the total value and,
Okay.
and display that. Um, let's see, check here. You're going to be learning about protocols and delegates, so you're going to be using those. And learning a little bit about the storyboards, about the image view, switch control, step control, and segment control. Um, yeah, you want to use the same event handler for all the subclasses. So you don't want to have a separate action for every subclass button. You want to have them all go to one event handler, like an on-click method,
Okay.
and then use like an if-else statement or something or a switch statement to determine
Differentiate the buttons.
differentiate the buttons, right?
Okay.
Let's see. You also are going to be adding a section with a segmented control that allows you to choose different background colors for the view, um, to choose between 3 different colors, and then an info button that will display a second view that contains your name, and then there should be a button on that second view that would close that second view, bring you back to the first view. When we say an info button, we're talking about that little circular button with the eye in it.
Right.
right? Okay, which is a type of button. Um, if you're using storyboards, you can when you make the button, you can just go into, I think it's the attributes inspector, and that's one of the types of buttons would be info button light or info button dark, I think it is.
Yeah.
And they both look the same as far as I can tell. So that's what you're going to be doing for this week. Um, I haven't looked at your assignment from last week yet because I was thinking you were probably going to turn it in again.
Yeah.
So so I'm not sure what your subclasses were.
It's automobiles basically. I did a base class of just a vehicle, and then I did 3 of my favorite vehicles, as far as like a Mustang, a truck, and a Jeep, and had different properties to calculate like miles per gallon depending on if it was a 4x4 or diesel, and that was the specific number for each of the different classes.
Okay, so you do have calculate methods in there that are kind
Yeah.
of calculations which you can multiply by your stepper values to.
Absolutely. When I submitted, I had everything, all the classes and all the methods were defined. I just didn't have it implemented because I didn't know how to do the factory, so I didn't actually call or display anything. So I just had it set up basically. And then that morning I went through and got it working.
Okay, then hopefully this week will be not quite as hard as last week. And in my
Yeah.
opinion, the first week is the hardest one for this class.
Yeah. It seems that way because a lot of this stuff, like because like I told you, I did the APD class already, the deployment class, and I did a lot. I actually had to do a lot of research and create my own protocol and delegate for that. And I also worked with a lot of like the steppers and stuff like that before, so it should be relatively easy, but we'll see.
Okay, good. Why were you taking APD before?
Yeah, that was a big, big mess up with the schedule because I actually took AOC1. I went back and looked. It was actually, I think, in October of last year.
Did you take MDF one
Yeah,
and
I took MDF. I took everything up until Java 1 2 months ago, other than this class.
Well, most students that are coming through now are not taking AOC2. They're just taking AOC, which is a combination of the two.
That's what
But
I've heard.
if you started earlier, then you need to take AOC2 in order to get the right number of credits, I guess, or something like that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, so that was a big mess up in my schedule. I did everything, and they even put me in the deployment class and moved me onto Java until they realized, I guess, somehow that I was missing a credit, and then this showed up back on my schedule. I was like, wait a minute, that would have helped a lot for the
yeah,
deployment class.
I am.
Especially this first week, I was like, my God, this is like mind blowing. Because I know I did, like I said, I did a lot of research and finding out how to do a lot of things myself, but this makes it so much more smoother and easier to comprehend.
So you are already learning things that would have helped you, huh?
Oh yeah, for the very first video, I was like, my God, this would have saved me hours of headache. But
Too bad they got it mixed up.
yeah,
Okay, so do you have any questions then about what's coming up this week?
not so much. Like I said, working with a lot of the different controls and the buttons and stuff like that, I'm familiar with. And I've never really used nib files, so I'm all for the storyboards. I love it a million times better. Um,
Yeah, I like storyboards too.
yeah, and that's how I learned it too. I did a lot of courses on lynda.com where Simon, teaches it with the storyboards and stuff. So it just makes a lot more sense to me. Um,
I learned it by taking the Stanford's online course and they
okay.
storyboards.
So yeah, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Like I said, I'm gonna turn in my last week's project in like about an hour or two. I got a few little just design touch-ups I want to put on it before I submit it, and then I'm gonna get started on this tonight. So if I do come up with any questions, I'll let you know. But I think it should be pretty straightforward.
Okay, sounds good then. I'm gonna go on to record information about AOC1, so if you want to drop out now, that would probably be a better use of your time.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay, good night.
Good night.
Okay, for those of you that are in AOC1, if you're watching this as a recording, you're going to be learning about functions and methods, variable scoping, that is where variables are actually visible within the program. Basically, if you are inside a block that's enclosed in brackets, the variables are only going to be visible within that area if that's where they're declared. If they're declared in the .h file inside the brackets there, they'll be visible to the entire class, but not outside classes. And then if they're declared outside the braces in the .h file, they'll be visible to outside classes that import that .h file. So anyway, you'll be getting more information about that. You'll be learning about UI alert views, about NS numbers. Now, NS numbers are used because in Objective-C, arrays and mutable arrays and dictionaries and mutable dictionaries cannot contain anything but objects. So that means they can't contain things like ints, integers, floats, doubles, characters. Any of those types that are not objects cannot be stored in an array or a dictionary. So in order to store those things, you have to wrap them, we say, in an NS number type. So you'll learn how to put those things into an NS number and how to get them back out. You'll also learn about UI buttons, about selectors, and for this week's project you will be taking what you've learned and creating a single view application that will go in the view controller. The code that calls your method should go in the viewDidLoad method, and you're going to be creating 4 methods, which of course go outside the viewDidLoad method in their own space. You're going to be creating a method called add that will take 2 ints or NS integers and return the result of an addition between the two. So it returns the sum. Shouldn't do anything else. Shouldn't be calling any other methods. Excuse me, my cat down here. Shouldn't be calling any other methods or printing anything or doing anything else inside the add method except taking the parameters that were passed in and returning the sum of them. Then you're going to create a method that's a Boolean method called compare. You're going to pass in as parameters 2 NS integer or int values and just return yes or no based on whether those values are equal. Don't do anything else. Don't call any other methods inside this method. Just return yes or no based on whether they're equal. Okay, create another method called append. That method you're going to pass in 2 NS strings and you're going to return an NS string that contains the appended strings. And you're going to use an NS mutable string and the append string method to combine those strings. So you're going to pass in the parameters, you're going to append the second parameter to the first parameter and return the results. Don't do anything else in there. Okay, and then the last method that you're going to be making is going to be display alert with string. That method is going to take as a parameter an NS string, and if you like, it can return 2 parameters, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Okay, that you're going to take the passed in NS string and display it in alert view using UI alert view. Now, you're going to pass in a message for the alert view. And if you like, you can pass in also another string for the title. If you don't pass in the title, then you can use just a generic title. All right, make sure your methods don't do anything other than what we just described and what's described in the assignment. Everything else that you do, such as calling your methods, capturing their results into variables, converting ints to NS numbers and NS strings, forming message strings, with the exception of your strings that are joined by the append method, all that should be done in the viewDidLoad method. Now for your one of the requirements for your add method, when you call the add method, all right, in your viewDidLoad method, let me go back to this a minute. In your viewDidLoad method, you're going to call the append method with two strings. You're going to capture the resulting appended string in a variable, and then you're going to display a UI alert view with the appended string by calling display alert with string. So you're going to take the results, save them in a variable, and then use that as the string that you pass into display alert with string. Okay, for the add method, you're going to pass in two integer values, or ints, capture the results, that's the return value. Whenever we say results, we mean the return value of the method into a variable, and then you're going to take that variable and bundle that into an NS number, and then you're going to convert that into an NS string. And then when you have the string, you're going to pass that in as a parameter to display alert with string function, and the message should read the number is, and then whatever that sum of the addition was. So in order to create that string, you're going to have to take the sum and use a format string or something to create the string the number is, and then the sum in one string, which you're going to pass into display alert with string. Let's see. Okay. Now for the compare function, you're going to pass in two integer values, or ints. You're going to display an alert view with both the input values and the results. So it should say what the input values are. Whatever values you passed in should be printed, and then you should print yes if they are equal and no if they are not equal. And then you can send the string that you've created that has that information to display alert with string as a parameter. So in with the add method and with the compare method, you're going to have to be forming strings that include the return value, but also have some other parts to the string. You want to create those strings in the viewDidLoad method, not in the functions that you're calling. Okay. And that about covers it for week 2. Let me know if you have any trouble or any questions, and I would be glad to help you with that. Good night.